now I'll turn the time over to Vice Chair Belknap, because I'll be reporting on the Finance Committee. And then if you can get through our committee reports, that will be good. And then I'll get back in on item 14.
That would be great. Okay, Chair Huntsman, Finance Committee report, please.
Okay, well, I'm looking for on my screen. I think we've got one item. Who's driving?
Jeff, do you have the summary up?
Actually going to pass it over to Angie and she'll pull that up for you.
Okay.
So we had, well, this is really big. We had two motions. Isn't there another one after this, correct? Okay, yeah. Okay. I'm used to being in the other seat, so this is kind of fun to be back in the committee seat. The motion from committee, the committee moved that the board approve the proposed budget increase of 105,000 one time and 170,000 ongoing from the trust distribution account to complete and maintain the school land trust website.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve the proposed budget increase of 105,000 one time to 170,000 one time ongoing from the trust distribution account to complete and maintain the school land trust website. Any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all vote please. I see that the motion passes unanimously. Lorraine. Go ahead, Chair.
So I'm the other motion, and it's rather lengthy. And just as a heads up.
So Chair, if you'll read it, is it okay if I don't reread it?
Because I have we have an amendment to that motion, to this
Okay.
section. The motion that came out of the board or from the committee, that the committee moves that the board, number one, waive the requirement in R277-477-32 for a principal to submit a principal assurance form for the 2021-22 school year. Number two, extend the April 1 deadline in R277-477-35A to May 1st for a principal of a charter school to submit a plan to the school trust, children's trust section. Number three, waive the requirement in R277-491-41 for a principal to submit a principal assurance form for the 2021-22 school year. Waive the requirement in R277-477-6 for a business administrator to enter a prior year audited expenditure through the school land trust website for the 2020-21 school year. Number five, extend the January 31st deadline in R277-477-67 to April 30th for the LEA to report to the LEA's governing board on school plan implementation. And number six, waive the requirement in R277-477-71 for staff to review all final LEA school land trust reports for 2019-20 school year.
Okay, so that is the motion before the board. Chair, you have an amendment?
Yes. a proposed amendment to that motion. I'm gonna make sure that's what I have on.
Before we move on, point of order, what is the difference between 1 and, did we type that correctly? What is
No.
the difference between 1 and 3?
So there's new information that came to our school trust plan. Well, Paul Plant can speak to that. So there's some tweaks to it. So it's close, but not completely. We're just having to restate the motion.
I see what
No,
Board Member Hart is asking. That number 1 is a waiver for the principal assurance, and also number 3 is a waiver for principal's assurance, but 1 is 3-32 and 1 is -41.
Those are the.
Thank you.
So in an attempt to dot our i's and cross our t's, we had to tweak just to make sure this is all correct on these extensions and changes.
I'll track back, Molly. So Chair, are you okay if I read this one time?
Yes, yes, I am. Well, you're chairing.
Well, I just want to make sure. So
You
we
should-
only have
What's on the board is my proposed amendment.
amendments. Lorraine, I believe the underlined parts and the crossed out parts are the amendments. Do you see them?
I do. If someone could send those to me, email, that would be helpful. Thank you.
That would be really helpful for her. And I'm not sure if it's Angie we need to ask, what is the difference between 1 and 3 before we read them out? They're two different sections of rule.
They're two different rules.
Okay, so it's two places. Okay, so the amended motion before the board, Chair, you correct me, is to number 1, waive the requirement in our 277-47732 for a principal to submit a principal assurance form for the 21 and 22 school year. Number 2, to extend the April 1st deadline in our 277-477-35A for a print and exclude May 1st for a principal of a charter school to submit a plan to the school children's trust section until 6 weeks after the online school plan programming is completed and plans are ready for online entry. 3, waive the requirement of our 277-491-41 for the principal to submit a principal assurance form for the 21-22 school year. Number 4, waive the requirement in our 277-477-6-5 for the business administrator to enter a prior year audited expenditure through the school land trust website for the 2021 school year. Number 5, extend the January 31st deadline in our 277-477-6-7 to April 30th for an LEA to report to the LEA's governing board on the school plan implementation. Number 6, waive the requirement in R 277-477-71 for staff to review all final LEA school land trust report for 1920 school year. Number 7, extend the May 15th due date in R 277-477-310B for a school plan to be approved and available for review by the Children's School Trust, including the LEA's requested revision to 6 weeks after the online school plan website application is completed and plans are ready for online entry. Number 8, waive the requirement in R 277-477-62A for a school plan amendment to be submitted online. Number 9, waive the requirement in R 277-477-6 for a final report to be submitted online from October 20th to 3 weeks after the online final report website application is completed and ready for online entry. And number 10, waive the requirement in R 277-477-39A for a principal to collect council member signatures indicating their involvement in implementing and developing plans. Do we have any discussion to that motion? Board Member Hart?
Sorry, I didn't realize my hand was still
That's
up, but
okay.
I guess I'm gonna ask why? Why? are we
The
doing this?
website's not ready. I've been trying to do my plan. There's no way to upload anything. It's not ready.
But, and it's
Paula-
not going to be ready even by April 1st or May
Um,
1st?
We probably need to ask someone from, we probably need to ask Paula if she's available, but that is what I was told, that there's too many people trying to get them done now, that to waive it for 1 year would make more sense. Are you
Madam
okay?
Chair, I can speak to the proposed amendment. I'd have Paula Plant speak to it for my
Thank-
behalf. And then I'll have-
Thank you. Okay, Paula?
Okay, thank you. I know this seems complicated and a lot of waivers. The problem that we have got is that we are not sure when they're going to be ready. And instead of coming back to you again and again for waivers, we're just asking for the waivers to be consistent upon when the applications are ready for online entry, as opposed to specific dates that have been in the rule in the past. And as soon as the website development is completed, then, for instance, in 7, their due date would be 6 weeks after it's available, as opposed to being required by May 15th, because we certainly hope the website will be ready well before May 15th, but we don't know when. So we'll give them, they'll have 6 weeks to complete that application. So then we don't have to come back to you again and get additional waivers if it's not due by a particular date. Like in number 2, we extended that date first in the Finance Committee from April 1st to May 1st. And then shortly after that meeting, we found out the website wasn't going to be ready even for them to do it by May 1st. So hopefully that's helpful.
That's very helpful, Molly. Okay. All right, Board Member Lear.
Thank you. I just have a comment. I support this amendment, of course, but I just hope it points out to us that we have micromanaged, or the board, or at the bidding of the legislature, we have micromanaged this process for LEAs for way too many years. And I hope that maybe this COVID experience, together with the fact that the website's not ready, will point out that the schools do a very good job of spending money. And all of the reports and the assurances that, by the way, we rarely follow up on, are really not doing anybody any favors. They're not securing the sanctity of these funds. I just hope we learn that maybe all these reports and the very detailed assurances are not necessary, and rethink this rule altogether.
Thank you, Board Member Lear. Board Member Moss.
Thank you, Chair. Paula, could you just remind me, is there any separate requirement that the school plans be posted elsewhere, somewhere other than the Trustland website?
Paula, go ahead.
Okay, so yes, there are some requirements in the law that require schools to post certain information on the school website so that parents know what the council is doing when they're meeting, what the plan is. That kind of information is required on school websites. Maybe I could also maybe address Board Member Lear's concern. We will be bringing some changes to both of these board rules to the Finance Committee in the next meeting that will be coming from the Trust Lands Advisory Committee, that is advisory to the board, that will be making some changes and hopefully eliminating some of these requirements. In the reprogramming, we actually are eliminating 2 reports that were required prior, and those will no longer be required. So we are trying to eliminate certain requirements. Some of them are in the law, and the board doesn't have the authorization to eliminate those things. We are trying, whenever we can to simplify.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much. Okay, just as a reminder, we're speaking to this motion. Board Member Hanson. Oh, I think maybe Chair was first, but go ahead, Board Member Hanson.
Thanks. I'll be brief. I'll speak in support of the motion because it doesn't look like we have much of an opportunity to do anything else. But I do have a question about the website. What happened? Was this under our control? How do we have a website without a date of completion now and have it be this late? And what can we do in the future so this doesn't happen again?
I'm not sure that Paula can answer that question about not having this happen again, because it would be the web people, I believe. But Paula, if you want to make a stab.
Yeah, I'll do my best. Initially, this was intended to be ready for entry in January. We ran into some COVID-related issues where people who were working on the website were having issues that way. There have also been some challenges in what we've been trying to do to simplify the programming. For instance, instead of having business administrators go to the School Land Trust website to enter expenditures every single year, we're going to pull that information from the UPEF's data that they enter in the fall for all of their expenditures. There are some other things like that that we're trying to do for simplification, and some of them have just taken longer and have been a bit more complicated than anticipated. So with the programmers, we're trying to work through those issues and get things up as quickly as we can.
Thank you, Paula. Scott, did you have anything else?
A quick follow-up, and am I correct in understanding that we don't have an expected completion date at this point?
Go ahead, Paula.
Okay, so we have some dates that we're working towards and hoping that the final report that's been waived would be ready by next Friday for entry, and that the school plan would be ready for entry by the 1st of April. We are meeting weekly with Deputy Superintendent Jones and the IT team and our team weekly to try and eliminate any barriers to us getting these online and ready for schools to enter just as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Are you okay?
Thank you.
Board Member Hanson, thank you. Chair Huntsman?
Yes, thank you. And just speaking to the amendment here, as we were discovering this since our last finance meeting, we wanted to accommodate all of our LEAs as best that we possibly can. So this big search went out to, well, not a big search, but Paula Plant and staff had said, okay, let's if with the delay in here, let's just not create any victims. And so that's why this just came here at the end to help manage the expectations of all the LEAs. And so the LEAs that I've visited with and stuff, they are absolutely on board with this proposed amendment because they know what we're up against, and they're highly in favor of this website. It's going to simplify a lot of people's lives. And so it's important that we get it right and also keep them in compliance. So I apologize for this long amendment that's coming this late in the game, but it would have been against our normal way of doing things if we kicked the can down the road and just consumed the board with a lot of waivers.
Thank you, Chair Huntsman. Board Member Hart?
Yeah, I'm speaking in support of the amendment. Obviously, we don't have any other option, but I am concerned because there are places and LEAs that when things like this come their way, they add additional reporting requirements unique to their own LEAs, and it ends up doubling and sometimes tripling the work. I am concerned that, and would like to know if it's possible to indicate that it is completely acceptable not to go and require additional things from from schools in order to meet the requirements for publicizing or reporting or whatever. I can see where we'll be asked to do many things to make up for the delay, and I don't think that's the intent. And I want to make sure that we may not have. We need to make sure that's clear to the LEAs that they're not expected to do something instead of waiting for the website. They need to just wait for the website.
That's a good point. So maybe that could be something that Paula can take with her. That's a good point.
Thanks.
Okay, I don't see any other hands. Okay, I'm not going to reread the motion or the amended motion here. So if we could just say that number 1 through 10 is the amended motion. Please vote.
Chair Belknap, excuse me, but are we voting on the amendment now? Just
Yeah, we have to amend the amendments first and then we'll go back.
So we're only voting on the underlined portions right now.
On the underlined portion first,
Amendment.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Lorraine. Board Member Straight, I didn't see your vote. Oh, there we go. All right,
Yeah.
Lorraine, the voting is unanimous. Now we're back to the amended motion. So we are voting on the amended motion, correct, Lorraine?
Yes, the motion is amended, yes.
Okay, I see no hands. Let's vote on the amended motion, the 1 through 10. Board Member Davis, Vice Chair Davis. The voting is unanimous, Lorraine. Thank you. Chair Huntsman.
That concludes our actionable items.